I'm going to quickly run through how to undertake a rezoning scenario using the REMPLAN residential supply monitor. So looking at running the scenario, I'll actually turn the satellite on to make it a little bit easier to see what we're looking at. To run a scenario, I need to first create a precinct. So I can do that in a number of ways using a polygon, radius, or selecting properties. I'm just going to select a few properties here. You can see that isn't aligned with the properties very well, but I can click on that and snap to those property boundaries. You can see our new precinct here, Newtown. Let's pop that up there. The first thing we want to do when we are creating a scenario is put the skeleton of the new precinct or structure plan area in, which are the roads. So I'm just going to add a road or a corridor. We can call this the main road. I'm going to give it a width of about 19 meters or so. And of course, I'm going to join up some of these existing areas. And this is very simple. Got one road. I'll add another slightly narrower road here. Maybe through here. Merge those. And as you can see, we've started with 3 distinct precincts here that we can start zoning. We can apply the general residential zone to all of these, and you can see we start getting some dwelling counts. There's one existing dwelling in this whole precinct, but if we apply all the typical or default criteria for the general residential zone for this suburb, we'd end up with an additional 399 dwellings. Now we can become a little bit more nuanced than that. Let's say we want to break this up a bit, and this area here, our section D, isn't residential anymore. That is our neighbourhood centre. Now section D doesn't have any dwellings because it's a commercial centre, but around maybe around this road, I want to have a slightly higher density. So let's build that in, maybe to there. I can change this section to medium density housing. And then over in the corner here, section H, that can be some public open space. And we can change that as well. There's naming quite easily. Now we've got our scenario here ready to go. We can test some alternatives here by cloning the scenario. So I've got option A, which was our original one. They're currently the same. But with option B, I want to see what would happen instead of having a commercial centre, neighbourhood centre here. I'm going to turn this into a mixed use zone. I'm going to open it up so I can get a little bit more nuance with how I apply the planning controls. So the stories we have by default here are 3. I'm going to add it to 4 and leave the commercial floors as 1. And we can see how that change actually modifies the dwelling mix or dwelling yield. And now our option A and option B give different results there. Now that we can go into much more detail, adding different zones, different criteria, looking at specific controls for residential zones in these different precincts. But in summary, we can get a very high level indication around an options analysis of what might be possible in some residential or new residential precincts or structure plan areas.